When World War II ended, there were hungry and homeless children scattered all over Europe, and American soldiers gathered up many of them and put them into tent cities where they could receive nourishment and medical care. Now, these children came from many different countries and were of many different ethnicities, but they seemed to have one thing in common. Because of the trauma that they had experienced, they couldn't sleep at night. They were afraid to go to sleep. Their caregivers would put them down after dinner and then go back to check on them, and these children would be lying awake in the dark with their eyes open. Now, we know that sleep deprivation is bad for everybody, but it's especially hard on children. And so these caregivers tried all different kinds of things to try to help the children go to sleep, with no success. And then one American soldier serving in one of these tent cities decided to try an experiment. After dinner one night, he gave each one of the children a small piece of bread to hold in their hand. As they went to bed, they were to hold it there with them. And so they took the bread and they lay down on their cots, and the result was astounding. Assured that they would have enough bread for the next day, they slept like babies. They slept soundly. The bread took away their fear. Friends, bread is an interesting thing, isn't it? It's more than the sum of its parts, right? It's more than just flour and water and salt. Because bread evokes deep emotions in many of us. It brings up feelings about security and fellowship, provision for the journey, even the presence of God. Bread is a physical food, but it has this spiritual aspect to it, and for that reason, bread is considered to be a holy thing in many cultures. Certainly, Jesus understood both the physical and spiritual meaning of bread. He grew up in a Jewish home where his mother Mary would have made bread daily as part of her routine. And do you remember when he taught his disciples how to pray, he talked about bread? He included in that prayer we know so well, "Give us this day our daily bread." And he talked about bread again during the last meal that he ever shared on earth, a final Passover feast that he shared in an upper room with his disciples. He surprised them by departing from the ritual of that meal and holding up the bread and breaking it and saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. When you eat this, do so in remembrance of me." Friends, I think there's no question that Jesus understood both the physical and the spiritual meaning of bread. So it's not surprising then that when he saw the crowds, saw their hunger, he recognized that their deepest hunger was a spiritual one. And so then he offered himself as food for their souls. He said, "I am the bread of life." But the crowds just didn't get it at first. They didn't understand. They didn't even understand the nature of their own hunger. They didn't understand that they were spiritually hungry. They thought they would be satisfied if Jesus just kept dishing up signs and wonders. Because you see, he had just fed 5,000 people with a few loaves and fish, and that miracle reminded the people of another miracle. A miracle that their ancestors had known when they were wandering in the wilderness. Do you remember which miracle I'm talking about? Remember? The Hebrew people escaped slavery in Egypt with Moses leading them, and they're wandering out in the desert, in the wilderness, and they get hungry and they grumble about it. And then manna comes from heaven, and they all fill up and are satisfied. So when Jesus performed this miracle with the loaves, they thought of this miracle, this manna from heaven, and they thought about Moses, and then they began to think, well, maybe this Jesus guy is the new Moses. So they stuck to him like glue, hoping for some more of those miracles that involve physical bread. But Jesus, when he saw those crowds, and he saw how spiritually hungry they were, that they were really hungry for relationship with God, he said, "Look, it wasn't Moses who fed you, it was God. And it's God who is feeding you now. God is giving you the very best bread there could ever be, bread that will satisfy your soul and you will never be hungry again if you eat this bread. And the crowd said, "Sir, give us some of that bread." And Jesus said, "Well, that would be me. I am the bread of life." Friends, do you hear what Jesus is offering us in this text? It is the key to life. It really is. Because you see, every single one of us deep down is so hungry. There is a God-shaped hole in our lives, and the only thing that can fill that space, that can satisfy us, is Christ, the bread of life. You see, like bread, we are more than the sum of our parts, right? We're body, mind, and spirit. And when our spirit is not fed, it starves. It cries out in hunger. Maybe you know what I mean. Perhaps you don't even know what to call your hunger. Maybe you can't really even articulate that what you're feeling is hunger at all. What you know is that deep down inside something is wrong. Something's the matter. You feel unsatisfied. You feel empty. That no matter what you accomplish or what you buy or what you look like, there's this hollowness, this feeling you can't shake. And if you feel like that, you are not alone. In fact, people in this world who have everything that anybody could ever ask for, when pressed, often confess that deep down they feel that way, that they feel hollow and unsatisfied and deeply hungry. Something is wrong. They're not sure what it is, and they don't know exactly how to fix it. And you know, one of those people was Don Hewitt. Does that name sound familiar to you, Don Hewitt? For 36 years, Don Hewitt was the executive producer of 60 Minutes, the very well-known news magazine program on CBS. And in that position, he was very powerful. He could make or break a reputation based upon what he decided to put on the air. And I think by all accounts, he was successful on the world's terms. I mean, he received a lot of honors and accolades. And he worked for a long time. That 60-minute stopwatch, well, it clicked on for an extra 16 years for Don Hewitt. He retired 16 years after the average person retires. So you would think at the age of 81, having spent more than 3 decades at the helm of 60 Minutes, being known as a person of importance and power, having received dozens and dozens of accolades, honors, awards of various kinds, having an office filled with letters and pictures signed by famous people, powerful people, every president, from Dwight Eisenhower to George W. Bush, and having a whole case full of Emmy Awards, he'd be feeling pretty good about his life. But Don Hewitt would have felt satisfied. But sadly, he did not. When Don Hewitt retired from 60 Minutes, he went on record saying that he felt empty and depressed. He said, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. Where do I go now to feed my soul? Well, friends, Don Hewitt is long dead. But I pray that before he left this earth, someone shared the truth with him, that the kind of hunger that he was experiencing was spiritual hunger, and that that kind of hunger could never be satisfied by more work or more power or more accolades, that what he was looking for, what he needed, was the bread of life. And where to find it? Well, if I could have, I would have told Don that a good place to start is a church like this, especially on a communion Sunday, when the table is set and the bread is broken and the wine is poured, and the one who loves us more than anything in the whole world sees our hunger, our hollowness, and rather than respond with condemnation, offers himself as spiritual food, the bread of life, to fill us up. Friends, do you feel like something is missing in your life? Do you feel like something is wrong? Is there a hollow spot that you're having a difficult time filling? Do you feel caught in a cycle where you accomplish something, or you buy something, or you have some sort of experience, a great one, and then after a while the glow wears off and you find yourself back at square one, wondering again what you can do, where you can go, what you can get that's going to fill that spot and satiate that hunger? Well, let me tell you, the only one who can break that cycle is Jesus. Christ is the only one who can break that cycle for you, and he can do it today. Friends, I pray you will come to his table with an open heart. Tell him how hungry and thirsty you are. Allow him to fill you up with grace. Friends, feast on the bread of life today, and I promise you, you will never be hungry again. Will you pray with me? Most loving God, how grateful we are that you are so generous with yourself. That when we come to you hollow and empty, you are ready to fill us up. Lord, thank you for being the bread of life, the one who brings light and life into the world. Give us courage and strength to claim the life that you offer so that we may be whole people who can serve others in your holy name. It's in Christ's name that we pray. Amen.